Welcome to today's news on TV9. I'm Ada Cho. In today's local news, the owners of Rena, the ship that ran aground off the Tauranga coast almost a year ago, have reached a compensation agreement worth up to $38 million with the government. The financial settlements will mean the Greece-based Dyna Shipping Company will pay $27.6 million for the costs incurred in the clean-up. The amount could increase to $38 million if it's decided to leave part of the rig on the reef. Well, winter may have just ended, but Auckland's Queen's Wharf has been transformed into an ice skating rink. Christy Jai has more.
Aucklanders just can't seem to get enough of the ice. In June, thousands of people flocked to a temporary rink at Aotea Square, and now another one has been opened on the waterfront. Operating from midday to 10 o'clock at night, the rink is totally covered for rain or shine, perfect for marking the end of winter. So for those unable to go down to the mountains, skating on man-made ice is the next best thing.
We could celebrate the end of Summer Olympics by exciting people for getting ready for the Winter Olympics in 2014.
Olympic champion Valerie Adams helped open the rink, which is free entry with food and with skate blades ready for hire. Around 7,000 people have already gone through, and more than 20,000 are expected. It will open until October 7th. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
According to Statistics New Zealand, white Europeans could lose majority status in Auckland in the next few years, as the combined population of Asians, Pacific Islanders and Maori increases. Christy Zhao reports.
Auckland's population was 76% white European in 1976, but according to figures from Statistics New Zealand, that number could dwindle to just 51% in 2016. With 2 in 5 Aucklanders born overseas, the city's combined population Asians, Pacific Islanders and Maori are on the increase. Experts say as New Zealand becomes more and more like the rest of the world, change is just inevitable, and it involves some give and take.
Parts of the heritage be kept, no doubt. It won't be all forgotten, I don't think. But as to how it would evolve, how it would change and so on, everyone has a say.
A survey finds that almost 70% of New Zealanders are comfortable with a multicultural society, and many have friends outside of their own ethnic groups. Some say cultural diversity is the key to prosperity.
I think life could be a bit boring if everybody's all the same, and no problem. And quite frankly, to keep a vibrant, fast-moving city, and Auckland is the 3rd most livable city in Mercer International's Quality of Life survey, and Mayor Len Brown and the Auckland Council want to take Auckland to number 1. I think we need to embrace this, embrace the change in the cultural diversity that we've got.
Anti-immigrant sentiments were once rife in New Zealand, but experts say much have changed in recent years, and that can only be a good thing. Christy Zhao, News.
KiwiRail has confirmed the Napier to Gisborne rail line will be shut down. The line has been closed due to severe storm damage caused earlier this year. Job losses are likely, but the state-owned company has refused to give a figure of how many. However, a $4 million package has been given from the government to upgrade the road between Napier and Gisborne. The first digital wallet in the country has been launched. It promises all the convenience of paying for a coffee, bus tickets or topping up your mobile with the swipe of a smartphone. Christy Jai has more.
When it comes to financially using their smartphones, most people would do little other than checking bank balances or buying ringtones. But now a new mobile payment system is aiming to do away with the physical together, with the 6 organizations launching it, touting it as the future of mobile consuming. The trial, a collaboration between Auckland Transport, Telecom, Westpac, Thales, Gemalto and Paymark, takes near-field technology development to a whole new level.
An NFC is really a shortwave communication between an antenna into the device and the point-of-sale terminal. So the typical FPOS machine that you see on the counter, you can basically tap your phone to the actual terminal, and there's a communication that happens between the phone and the terminal, which is effectively the same communication that you have for instance, a access card or, for instance, a contactless card today.
Mobile wallets offer consumers a way to merge credit cards, transport cards, loyalty cards and various coupons onto their cell phones. Merchants will also be able to communicate better with customers, so it's a life-enhancing change to the payment experience. But will it be safe?
The SIM that we use, which is called an NFC SIM, is actually certified by Visa MasterCard. So the SIM technology is the same as the chip that you have on the card today.
Roxanne Sultan says mobile networks are working to improve the current security level, but safety features are already built into the technology. If you've lost your phone, remedies will usually be available. A trial run will take place over the next few months, and consumers are expected to be able to use the mobile payment technology by late next year. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
Green Party is urging the New Zealand government to put an end to shark finning, as New Zealand is lagging behind other countries in dealing with the controversial practice. Amy Fung reports.
Currently in New Zealand, the practices of shark finning are still allowed. Fishermen would catch a shark, chop off their fins and dump its carcass back into the sea. This year the government will review the National Plan of Action Sharks policy, and the Green Party sees it as an opportunity to improve the practice of shark finning in New Zealand.
Worldwide, around 73 million sharks are killed for their fins alone, and of the large shark species, their populations have declined around 90% in the last 50 years. So what we're doing around the world to feed the global $1 billion shark trade, for shark fin soup primarily, is unsustainable, and New Zealand's policies, being so out of line with the rest of the world, really does risk our clean green brand and sustainable fisheries brand.
Instead of shark finning in such a cruel manner, the Green Party suggests the government to adopt the fins naturally attached policy.
I'm calling on the government to adopt what's called a fins naturally attached policy, which would still let people hunt sharks under the quota management system, but they would be required to land the whole shark carcass before the fins can be removed. This is a cheap, easy to enforce, easy to monitor regime, which would act as an incentive to fully utilise the shark, not just dump the rest of the other 98% of it at sea. Shark finning is sort of like catching an elephant just for its tusk.
New Zealand is the world's first 15 shark-catching nation, but other countries such as the United States, the European Union and Australia have already legalised shark finning. Amy Feng, 9 News.
The drug Truvada is a prevention medication for HIV transmission, and it has been proven that it can reduce HIV transmission in heterosexual couples. But NZ AIDS Foundation director said men are foolishly thinking they're safe or not infectious if they're taking the drug, something that could reverse all their hard work. Amy Fong has more.
Truvada is an antiretroviral treatment available for HIV, and FDA has recently approved Truvada as a prevention medication for HIV, but this has given the idea to men that condoms are no longer necessary, which could be very dangerous. New Zealand AIDS Foundation is concerned as this could increase the AIDS epidemic in Auckland if men fail to take precautions.
It's not a bad thing necessarily having these treatment options available or prevention options available using treatment because any treatment for HIV is great. The key issue around it is that if people think that being on treatment or using medication as a prevention method means that they no longer need to use condoms, there are some key issues with that. I guess the first one is that it doesn't prevent the transmission of HIV from people who don't know that they have it, and also if people are HIV negative and are taking it as a prevention method, they're taking a medication that they, as a healthy person, that they don't really need to be taking.
1 in 5 HIV-positive gay or bisexual men in Auckland are unaware that they have the disease. Research on Truvada showed that it significantly lowered the risk of HIV transmissions for heterosexual couples, but there is not yet any evidence that proves it will work for gay and bisexual men.
And I guess the other thing is that if people don't use condoms, then the risks of sexually transmitted infection transmission goes up, which for people who have HIV can increase their viral load and therefore increase their risk of transmitting the infection. So there are, I guess, a number of things that people need to take into account in terms of this not being a silver bullet to prevent HIV transmission. And we strongly recommend, particularly for gay and bisexual men, that condom use is still the best prevention method for transmitting HIV.
It costs the New Zealand government approximately $17,000 per annum to treat each person with HIV, and there are currently about 2,000 people in New Zealand diagnosed with HIV. HIV Prevention Day is on the 30th of November this year, and New Zealand AIDS Foundation is urging people to be more aware of HIV prevention. Amy Feng, 9 News.
A survey conducted on ageing Aucklanders has found that more than half of the elderlies who are well into their twilight years are lonely, and most of them are daily drinkers. Amy Fong reports.
The New Zealand longitudinal study of ageing was conducted on 3,317 Kiwis aged from 50 to 84, which 707 of them were from Auckland. The results show that although ageing Aucklanders are energetic, most of them feel lonely. The results show that approximately 80% of 50 to 64-year-olds had some sexual contact. 22% of 75 to 84-year-olds were quite a bit or very much interested in sex, but most of them only had some sexual contact. 21.8% of women were not interested in sex, but only 4.7% of men were not interested in sex. Although the interest for sex was high among ageing Aucklanders, more than half of the 707 Aucklanders felt lonely, and 9% said that they were severely lonely or very severely lonely. Women were more likely to be depressed than men, with 24.3% to 17.2%. 61.4% of respondents were daily drinkers, and they drank over 3 drinks per day. The report reads that many worry about their personal security. Over half of the sample is lonely. Depression is a factor for a significant minority, and many experience everyday discrimination because of their age. Amy Feng, 9 News.
Now we have a TV9 host from Asia Focus, Julie Nixon, to comment on Christianity in decline.
Christianity is losing out to religions such as Buddhism, Islam and Hinduism, according to a Massey University study. With the exception of Catholicism, membership of all mainstream Christian denominations in Auckland has fallen to historic lows. The Anglican Church, which has traditionally been New Zealand's dominant religion, has dropped from 47% of Aucklanders identifying with the church way back in 1926 to about 10% today. The highest concentration of Anglicans is in the wealthier suburbs such as Remuera. However, it's a different story for the Catholic Church, with Catholics found across the city in different socio-economic areas. Those who are leaving are being replaced by Catholic migrants from Asia and the Pacific. A National Church Life survey last year found that nearly half of the Auckland Catholic population is made up of Asians and Pacific Islanders. About 30% of those who go to Mass are Asians, and about 18% are Pacifica. Large numbers of Filipinos, Koreans and Indians are Catholics, and there are now more Catholics in Auckland than Anglicans. And it's likely that the next census will show that there are more Catholics than Anglicans across New Zealand for the very first time. However, according to the Massey study, nearly 1 out of 10 Aucklanders say they are followers of non-Christian religions, nearly twice the national average of 5.1%. It's also common for Christians in Auckland to attend more than one church and practice more than one faith, and the offerings of yoga, meditation, for example, are connecting Kiwis to new spiritual movements. But the number of those who say they have no religion has also increased, which can be attributed to an increase in immigration from communist China and also from Eastern Europe. With immigration having such a big influence on Auckland's demographics, the challenge for Christianity is to become more relevant to those people who don't fit into the category of white middle class.
Thanks, Julian. Now let's take a short break and we'll be back shortly.